All right, so this is going to be a review of Nope. It's the newest Jordan Peele movie. I really like Get Out. I really like Us. I know some people didn't like that one too much, but I really enjoyed it. So I'm like, okay, I'm expecting this to be great. But I do have some some things to say about it. Um, I'll leave that till a little bit later. So Daniel Kaluuya plays O.J. Haywood, and Kiki Palmer plays Emerald Haywood, and they run this ranch where they train the horses to be in like movies and things like that. Their father ends up dying in the beginning from some things falling from the sky mysteriously, and they're fed some BS story about it being from a plane or something like that, but they never really believe that. Then some of the horses start getting loose and some weird things start happening, and they realize, okay, no, this is a UFO, right? So they get security cameras and things like that, a whole security setup and everything, so that they can capture it on camera and become rich and famous, and then potentially also, I guess, help people in the process of that. And then things go really off the rails with it, with the UFO and some other characters and things. It gets pretty horrifying after a while. Dealing with the UFO. There are parts of this movie I like and parts of it I didn't. But we'll talk about what I liked first. So the performances are all pretty great, other than maybe one person. We'll probably talk about him in a second. But Daniel Kaluuya, Kiki Palmer, I thought they were really good. I felt their familial bond definitely, especially by the end when they do this little operation or whatever. Everything dealing with the UFO, when it's actual horror going on, when it's like lifting things up, lifting buildings up, sucking people up and things like that. It's great, and he's Jordan Peele. He was really good at building the tension with that. I mean, the atmosphere of it all, and the score is really like pretty much perfect for what's going on here, and it is just it's so good. It's so good. The UFO looks great. Definitely spend some time and money on that, I guess, and not something else that's in the movie that we'll talk about in a second. But man, the horror really works in this when you finally get to the point where it's dealing with the UFO and getting that shot and dealing with all that. It is great, really great, like amazing. Like this is probably getting good reviews mainly because of that, like mainly because of everything that happens in that last like 30 to 40 minutes or so. Unfortunately, the rest of the movie isn't like that though. It's way too slow. The movie definitely needed to be shorter. I didn't really get a feel for the characters early on because we have, them kind of meandering, having these conversations about nothing. There's this whole thing that has to do with the chimpanzee that was horrifying, like legitimately. Like it was really uncomfortable to watch it. Yeah, it kind of reminded me of this other real story with this chimpanzee where I'm pretty sure it was a chimpanzee where it like messed up this woman's face. That was in real life, and it has something. It's kind of like that, but two things. That chimpanzee looks fake as fuck. I mean, there was never a point where I thought that thing looked real, and it does have to do with the UFO and dealing with the stuff happening in the movie, but like really like a real thin layer, right, to link it. So it doesn't really justify how much of the movie it's in. Like the movie starts with it, and it's like, I don't know if you needed to do all that, right? Like it's the backstory for one of the characters, and and all that, and it does link into certain things with the UFO, but it, you didn't need it really, or if you were going to use it, maybe use it a little bit less because you already have a movie that I feel like is too long. There's a character in this that sets up the cameras. His name is Angel Torres. I guess the guy's performance was okay, but that character, he feels like he broke into this movie from an M. Night Shyamalan movie, right? Where his dialogue is just, it's terrible. He's talking about his girlfriend and things like that, and he's really knowledgeable about the UFOs. Man, this could be people from the future coming back to warn us about the apocalypse. I mean, it was too much from that character. He's in a lot of the movie too, and I was like, man, he kind of doesn't feel like he fits here. So that character, I was like, get rid of him or tone him down a little bit, because yeah, the last thing I should be thinking about is M. Night Shyamalan. There's this other character. He's played by Michael Wincott. The character was Antlers Hoist, I guess. I didn't even remember what the character's name was. I don't even remember them at what point they said it, but he's in the trailer. He has this really deep voice and he talks really cryptic. It feels like that's the only reason why he was really there, is just to say cryptic things in that voice. All right. I mean, that man can read the phone book, right? He could read a dictionary to you, and you'd be, engrossed in what he was talking about because of that voice. But as far as his character, I thought it was kind of weak, especially by the end with what happens with him. I mean, all that being said, it really does feel like Jordan Peele had this really good idea for this going on with the UFO and everything going on with it, and the way that this ends and how they finally get the picture and all that other stuff. But he didn't really know how to get us there. So then the movie's really slow and in parts kind of boring. Like I was starting to fall asleep at certain points, especially around like in the very beginning, like the first act. He didn't really know how to get us there, but once he got us there, it's amazing. But getting there is really slow and kind of monotonous, and I didn't really care for it. Early on, I was like, "Am I gonna have to give this a negative review?" And then it kicked into gear, and I was like, "Wow, this is actually really good all of a sudden." So that's the way I felt about it. I'm sure it's getting positive reviews, and I'm gonna end up giving it a positive review as well. I'm gonna give it a good enough. But this really could have been something special if you'd have just made this shorter, because clearly you didn't have enough to justify all this. There's so many scenes where I was like, why is this here? There was so many early on where I was like, we could be using this to do some real true development of these characters and things like that. Really help me get to know them and their family. And there's some of that there, but not enough. And, there's scenes in this that, you could have replaced it with that, replaced them with that. So anyway, yeah, I'm giving it a good enough. I'm still going to give it a positive review. Just not as good as I wanted it to be and as good as it could have been. But anyway, yeah, that's Nope by Jordan Peele, and we're done.